Hello, everyone. It's Audie Astrochick, and I'm back for part two. So soon, you say? Well, Chiron is still at the 28th degree of Aries in its retrograde. So this is like the third day it's retrograde. So let me tell you a little story. Um, the day after it went retrograde, after I made the first video about it, I was triggered. And I'm not going to be all details about the trigger. It's a great story, right? But let's just say that I was gaslit in some ways. And at first, my first emotion was hurt and anger, because anger is always sometimes this is the most important thing I learned from anger management was to not set expectations on people, especially if you know that they're not going to reach your expectations, right? Don't give to people if you want something back from them. You have to give freely to people and not expect certain things back, because expectation is what leads to anger. And that's true in my case. So I have practiced freely giving, right? But there are occasions with very specific people who I consider, I have emotions for these people, love, connection, or at least like a thread of like connection, even if for whatever reason it possibly thinned out. Still, you have deep connections to people when you share their name, when you name your children after them and shit. Like, I don't know. Anyway, so I was able to exercise the whole gamut of anger, disappointment, humiliation to a certain extent, abandonment, okay? And then also sadness, regret, okay? All these things I felt over the past 48 hours. And then after, speaking with my coven and my sisters and them really helping me gain some perspective about the whole situation, I don't want to be angry, you know. I just I have to just be positive and think I can love people from afar. I don't have to be in their lives. And the last thing I said to them was, I love you, to a certain extent. So I don't know. Endings are hard for me when you feel that you have to come to terms or have closure, even with relationships, even important relationships, or also because, Saturn and Neptune are retrograde in Aries at the first degree, and like Mars is going to come into Libra at the first degree during the full moon, okay? And so we'll have this Aquarius full moon happening in with a kite configuration in the sky, where you have this minor trine between the outer planets, Pluto, Uranus, and then Saturn and Neptune. And then you have Mars as the tension, as the tail of the kite, which is like the taskmaster, okay? And so Mars in Libra is uncomfortable because Mars is a warrior and Libra is a social engineer, or a socialite, you could say, someone who knows how to relate and be receptive, and also bring people together, right? Libra is a cooperative type of energy. And so that's not Mars's natural habitat. But the thing that's working out to help this energy, right, to mitigate some of the negative or some of the detriment, would be the fact that Saturn, being in Aries, is in the sign of Mars, and Mars being in Libra is in the exaltation of Saturn. So there's kind of a mutual reception between these two planets, even though, strangely enough, they're both in their fall, right? Or they're both, one's in detriment, one's in fall. So their dignity is questionable, but there are mitigating circumstances to their relationship that could help the situation, right? And so Mars is the taskmaster of this energy, ruled by Venus. And Venus is in Cancer. She's very full of emotion. So Mars wants to get their point across or accomplish whatever task it is at hand in a very diplomatic, fair, balanced, uh, agreeable type of manner, right? So I was thinking about this today because of the wound trigger that I had. And, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to be a brute. I don't want to be angry or bitter. I want to process whatever I'm feeling. I want to try to understand it, but at the same time, I ask why way too much. Sometimes things just are, and I have to accept that. But I'm a Gemini dominant, and Mercury, I have ADHD, and it's like I'm always thinking, right? And sometimes I overthink. So I have to put away certain thoughts sometimes. But I think with the astrology that's working, because the full moon is building, the quarter moon was yesterday or day before yesterday. And so we're building towards the moon is culminating. The light is gaining. And the full moon is next week. So in 7 days. So we have 7 days of this feeling, this moon, this culmination. And because the moon is ruled by Saturn, this dynamic between Saturn and Mars is going to play out with some of the energy of the full moon because Saturn rules the lunation. It's just interesting to think about at this specific time when I'm going through a Chiron return and how it hit me so fast. Like it happened. It was such good timing. Not good timing. It was because it wasn't very pleasant at all, but it was it was appropriately timed, I guess. So it makes me think that even though Chiron isn't a planet, that there is a very personal type of energy, and it is that personal, bridge to the transpersonal in the way that I'm talking about it with you guys, right? Because I am sharing things that maybe I feel a little uncomfortable sharing. Usually I don't share too much detail, but sometimes I do, right? And it just makes me feel like maybe I can help. That's the best thing that I can do. Like from this experience that I'm going through and these feelings that I'm feeling in this process that I'm like trying to flow with, the flow is not flowing, and especially not with the moon today. The moon, I think it's still in Scorpio. It's probably at the end or it's in the beginning of Sagittarius, but it's coming to my ascendant as well. So the moon is rising on my ascendant, and transit wise, I'm talking transit. So the moon is going into Sagittarius. I'm a Sag rising. So it will come to my ascendant degree, and I'm just thinking of myself a lot. I'm thinking of my personal life. The moon is very fast. So the moon aspects, the moon always is the applying planet because it is the fastest planet, and the fastest planet is the planet that is applying the aspect. So the moon is always applying the aspect, and it moves very fast. It's like 12 to 13 degrees per day, right? And so we're going through these phases of growth and understanding as the moon is becoming more enlightened. It's gaining in light, and at the full moon, that is like the time of pollination, when like you're fully conscious of what is going on because of the reflective nature, right? The receptive nature. It's like the moon is receiving the light of the sun. So symbolically, it's like, the moon is mortal life. It's like physical life. It's your body, it's your emotions, it's all your personal inner stuff. And then the sun is life force, and sometimes seen as like the soul and God, and like the force of life, because it is. And so the full illumination that the moon receives from the sun, it means something to us in a personal context because we live by the sun and the moon. But I just wanted to update you guys on my Chiron return, because remember, I think I'll have some lulls, especially as it moves away from the 28th degree. I think possibly it hits so fast because Chiron is literally at the degree it's at in my chart, and it will like linger there from the moment it got to the 20th degree of Aries until it leaves the 20th degree of Aries in the retrograde. It will have been there for 6 weeks. Okay. So like this whole process, it's very intense right now at this particular moment because Chiron is at the exact degree where it is in my chart. Okay. So this also can, give you a clue about how to watch your own transits and your own returns. Does the planet linger at the degree where it is in your chart? Because that happened to me with Saturn as well. When I had my Saturn return, it happened. I was just so lucky enough that Saturn went into a retrograde around the degree that I have in my natal. So went back and forth over the degree. So I had like a triple return. It was fantastic, But so I find it interesting that happened. I'm like a retrograde personality anyway. I have Mercury retrograde and all of the outer planets retrograde in my birth chart. So I have a retrograde disposition. I am neurodivergent and I have ADHD. And so there's a lot of like retrograde energies that are very natural to me. So I find it interesting that some of my returns are always during retrograde. And I'm going to look at other, because I've only noticed this with Saturn and now Chiron, but I'm going to look and see my other returns, how many times they're retrograde returns, because I think that's tougher. I do. They take longer. All right. So there's a lingering, like, maybe it's an ability to like process the whatever is going on, process the return, right? Because some returns, I know my first Jupiter return was fantastic, but like my third Jupiter return sucked, So they're all different. Your returns are not the same. Anyway, I just wanted to share this so I can keep you up to date, and hopefully, I will get through this as gracefully as I can. I'll catch y'all later.